Namaskar, thank you very much. I am grateful to the organizers, both the prestigious institutions, Jamia Millia Islamia and Urban Village Charitable Trust, for being given this opportunity to say a few words on this occasion for the conference on village architecture and planning. The organizers have taken a very good initiative in a right direction. But I have been wondering what I will be doing on this platform, or why I am here before this August gathering of experts on architecture and town planning and rural development. I do not belong to this area at all. I have been a teacher of Sanskrit. I am here because Anand Khatri asked me to join this event and to say a few words for this first session of it. And I have high regards for Anand Khatri. He is a talented young man and a sensitive poet, and I admire his accomplishments. So you can understand that I have come here completely unarmed. I don't have any concrete ideas, positive suggestions for your conference. I hope that the deliberations in this conference will go a long way for the resurrection of our rural society and to rediscover what we have lost during past 2 centuries. I'm an old man, and an old man has a storehouse of memories, a bundle of memories he carries with him at the fag end of his life. I have spent most of my life in big cities, in small towns also, in India, mostly in central part of India. I have been in other countries also. Some years of my life I have spent in many other countries. But I do have some memories of a village where I spent my early childhood. Some 3 or 4 years of my life between 1952 to 1955. I was in a small village. My father happened to be the headmaster of a middle school there. Only middle school was there, no other institution for boys, and there was a primary school, I think, so far as I remember, for girls. And there I spent a couple of years, and I have some memory of those times and the locale of that village. So maybe I bring out some reminiscences and I can say a few words as a matter of recollection. If it serves some purpose for this conference, I will be fortunate enough. If it doesn't serve any purpose, forget about it and proceed with your business. The village where I spent my early childhood, as I said, a couple of years, was a small place. You could walk from one end to the other end within half an hour. And I have a very touching memory of the food my mother used to prepare in our house. There was a earthen oven, you can say, mitti ka chulha. So the hearth or oven prepared out of mud, and the food was prepared by the lady of the house in the kitchen on that mitti ka chulha. We used to sit around her and she used to serve hot rotis to us. So the memory of that food is with me. And how that mitti ka chula, that mud oven, served the purpose of preparing the food. Of course, there was wooden fuel, indhan, and we used to purchase the bundles of sticks or wooden fuel brought by the ladies of the village who worked, who earned their living by selling those bundles. We used to call them mollies. So maybe you could get a molly, the bundle of sticks brought from the forest, by not by cutting the trees actually, but plucking the sticks, the branches, the dried branches of the trees. And there was a big forest, so that forest yielded sufficient indhan or fuel for our kitchens or kitchenettes. So with 1 paisa you could get one molly, one bundle of those sticks that could perhaps last for 1 month. And 64 paisas made 1 rupee, and 4 paisas made 1 anna. So if you had 1 anna, you could eat throughout the day. You could purchase sufficient food. So those were the times. So our mothers used to light those sticks or those branches of the trees, dried branches of the trees, to serve as fuel for preparing the food. And there were no match boxes. Matches or matchbox was not perhaps known. It had arrived, of course, during 1950s. Matchboxes were there, but in the small village, normally they didn't use matchbox. This matchbox I have brought with me, thinking that there may be some very young boys or girls in this audience who may not have seen this matchbox. They might have seen Matches, a movie by Guljar, but no matchbox or matches is shown in that movie. So even matchboxes or matches was not there. So we always kept fire alive in the hearth. The fire was not allowed to die out. That is the memory I have. So what happened that after preparing the food and after extinguishing the fire, the burning sticks, our mothers used to collect the burning coals inside the hearth or oven, and they used to cover those burning coals by ash, by the ashes. राख से अंगारे दबा दिए जाते थे, and that those burning coals kept burning inside that rakh or ash, so that if you had to prepare your food in the evening, you uncover those burning coals and again blow, again put dry sticks over them and blow by your mouth. There were no blowers even, so our mothers used to blow from their mouths to burn the hearth. In this way, the chula was lighted again. Every day this happened. The crisis came when, during the days of severe cold or during rainy seasons, those burning coals covered by ash, they didn't last. They were no more alive. So ठंडे हो जाते थे कोयले. Then the lady of the house would go inquiring in the neighborhood to the other ladies, with the other ladies, whether they have some burning coals in their hearths. This happened. And as a student of Sanskrit literature, of Sanskrit poetry, I can cite some very touching stanzas. The ladies in the rainy season have come out of their houses and asking in the neighborhood to the other ladies, do you have some burning coal left in your hearth, in your chula, so that I can light my rasoi. So this was the life. It may not appear very colorful or interesting to you, but this was the life. And why I am telling this sad tale of this life, I just want to point out that with minimum resources, with minimum use of mechanical devices, external devices, the life continued in that village. With optimum use of internal resources, that was the life. And there was a lifestyle based on this principle of optimum use of internal resources and minimum use of mechanical devices, not even using matches. Even if it has arrived, we don't want to use it. We just wanted to continue with our life. We would cover the burning coals in the hearth and just can make our rasoi next time by uncovering the ashes. So this was a typical lifestyle, and that has gone. That lifestyle has gone. So the lifestyle that has replaced it makes optimum use of external resources, mechanical devices. It makes optimum use of them, so that there is no concern for the environment. We don't think how much forest we might have destroyed for preparing for the factory of the matches, for the matchbox factory, and for other things. How much erosion of the environment that has led to. So those concerns have gone. So even if the mechanical devices are available, we just left them unused. We were not so much concerned with them if we have our own resources. So we could continue during those days. This was the life in 1950s. I was born after independence, just 1 or 2 years after independence. So I don't remember the pre-colonial period. I don't remember the colonial period, the pre-independence period, the villages that have been there. If you want to understand the villages in the pre-independence period, in the colonial period, you may go through the volumes of Dharmapal, who has worked on India in pre-modern period, India in colonial period. So the sort of village life that he unearths, he investigates upon there, you may have an idea of it. But from my experience, I can tell that there was hardly any market in the village. So suppose we had to purchase some earthen pot, or we had to purchase some oil earthen lamps for Diwali festival, mitti ka diya, then we would go to the Kumar's house, to the locality where 2 or 3 pitchermen, Kumars, Kumbhakaras, they used to live. And we saw very fascinating sights. The wheel of the Kumbhakara, the Kumar, the potman, he is rotating that wheel. And the wonderful way he's making the earthen pot. Within 2 or 3 minutes, the heap of the mud he placed on that wheel, that became a lamp or a earthen pot or a ghat. So all these wonderful sights we used to, that was our entertainment. So we go to purchase a pitcher, a jug, a earthen jug, to the locality where the Kumar Wadi is there, a very small habitat where these Kumar people are living. Suppose we have to, we need oil, cooking oil. So we don't order through Amazon or Big Basket to have the packets of cooking oil. We just went to the house of the teli. Okay. And we saw another wonderful sight, that Kolu is running inside the house. In a room, there is a Kolu, and there is an ox tied to the Kolu, and therefore there is an idiom, Kolu ka bel. So Kolu ka bel is an ox who is tied to the Kolu, to that machine which yields oil, and that ox is taking rounds and rounds constantly with the cloth bind on his eyes. He cannot see, and he is just making rounds around that Kolu, and some mechanism is there, a very simple mechanism. It's you can say a big grinder, spread over the whole room, occupying the whole room, and by rotating, the ox would compress the sesame or the peanuts which are placed in the Kolu, and they would yield a fresh oil. So we used to purchase fresh oil from the Teli's house, and I even saw a fire being produced through small stones by the village folk. They used to live in even smaller places from our village. So they visited. There was a mela once in the week in that village. So those folks used to come for the fair or the mela. So I saw them producing fire by rubbing the chakmak stone, two small stones of white color. And the village folk, the villageman, I saw him, he was rubbing those two stones with a small cotton placed under his thumb. And sparks came out by rubbing those stones, and that piece of cotton rui caught fire by the rubbing of those stones. And the village folk lighted his bidi usne sulgali by just rubbing those small stones. So he also was not using matches for smoking. So that was the life. So if you start using the matchbox, you are depending more and more on the mechanical devices, on the matches factory, on the matchbox factory. And there is a whole environmental aspect of it. By using the chakmak stone, you don't harm the environment. So by doing the least harm to the environment, you are carrying your life in an easy way. Perhaps it takes some more time. By using the matchbox, you can produce fire within a minute. I don't want to light this matchbox. So it has sticks inside. So you can light fire by just rubbing the tili, this small stick, on the surface of it, and have your smoking within 2 or 3 seconds. That village folk, for having his bidi lighted, might have taken 1 or 2 minutes, but he could afford that time. Time was there. They could play with time. They were not running short of time in those days. But the lifestyle was such that by least harming your surroundings, by doing the least harm to nature, you could carry your life in an easy way. So that sort of life has gone. So if you are talking of relocating a village, re-establishing a village, or reconsidering the whole village planning, you may perhaps consider that lifestyle which depended on doing least harm to the environment, to your surroundings, to your natural phenomena. So this was one point I wanted to make. I would never say that you again go back to the mitti ka chulha. That was a hell for our mothers, you see. I have seen the ladies, they are coughing due to smoke, and their eyes are suffering. So I would never suggest that you return to that lifestyle. I would also not say that you return to the way of smoking through chakmak stones. But perhaps you can have a gobar gas plant in the village, which would do less harm to the environment than the gas cylinders, than the big factories producing petrols and oils and gas cylinders that may be more suitable, that may be more environment friendly. So we need villages. Again, we need to return back to the villages which have gone away. There are no villages now. That sort of villages have gone. The villages have changed. The village of 1951-52 that I have a distant memory of, that you may not find again. So that sort of mitti ka chula, perhaps in TV, national TV, they show it, but you may not exactly see it. So it has been replaced by gas ovens, by other things. Even the kerosene stove, that was not there in our times. Kerosene had arrived, kerosene oil, and that kerosene stove also was there, but mostly we were not using. And during 1960-65, that kerosene stove we purchased when we moved to small townships or other towns. So we had that kerosene stove. And till 1973, when I was already serving in university for 3 years, I didn't have gas stove, gas oven, and I depended on kerosene stove or on sigdi of coal sigdi. That also I was using for preparing my food when I was living alone as a bachelor and serving in a university. So that was the life in small villages or small townships. And that life is no more now. And the question is whether we can learn something from that lifestyle without reverting back exactly, without going back, without reverting the whole wheel of progress that so far we have gone ahead with. So that was the other thing that I wanted to say. And I also remember that for the purchase of cotton, we used to go to the habitat of pinjaras. In small townships, they used to have pinjarwadi, the small section of the town, the small habitat or muhalla where the pinjaras are living. They used to have a teli pada where the telis are, the oilman is living. They used to have kumarwadi. In small towns, even at Ujjain, they used to have a pinjarwadi. The name of the locality is still there. A kumarwadi, a telipada you may find even in towns now. Maybe the telis are not there because the kolu is not there, teli is not there. But the name continues. There is a pinjarwadi in many towns. There is a kumarwadi in towns. The kumars have gone. The telis have gone. Their kolus are not running. There are factories. There are oil factories now. But we do talk of having a kachi ghani oil. So there is an yearning, to return to the lifestyle. We think that was better. The oil produced through the kolu, through that kachi ghani was better. it may have been more, it may be that it was more hygienic. So we do want to return to that lifestyle, to that rural lifestyle, or to that simple lifestyle. That it is not possible exactly to return back to that lifestyle. But the question, after all this gibberish talk, you can say, that occurs in my mind, that troubles me, that where is that Teli? Where is that Kumar? Where is that Pinjara who used to have his dhunki? He used to card off the cotton by his dhunki, a long bow tied to the roof, and he used to card off the cotton, and very sweet sound, a very rhythmical, lyrical sound of tin, tin, tin came out when he used to do the pinching of the cotton, the pinching work, pinjare ka karya, as if you can say. So that bow has gone, that dhunki of that dhunakiya, of that pinjara has gone, and the whole Kumarwadi, the Pinjarwadi, the way it used to function in a living way, that is not there. So the question which I wanted to pose before this very learned audience is, what happened to those people? They are dead, of course. The Telis of those days, the Kumaras of those days, when I was a small child of 4, 5 years or 3 years, so they might not be alive in the 21st century. But what about their sons? What about their next generation and the next generation? So what happened to those young men, their sons and their daughters? I think that they moved to towns. So they are washing the cars. In my colony, many young persons come asking us, कार धुलवाने का काम करना है. They would be washing our cars. They would be doing some small jobs in the towns. They are selling some small things. Some 10, 20, 25 years back, I saw a lady selling matchbox. Only one matchbox was with her. And she was imploring me, please purchase this matchbox for 1 anna. She might have moved from the village. And such village ladies and young men and other folks, maybe old men also, when the Kumarwadi was destroyed, when the Teli Pada was destroyed, the village, the living Teli Pada, the Kolu, running Kolu, when it stopped, the wheels of that Kolu stopped, and when there was an oil factory and supply of pegged oils, so that Kolu, the wheel of that Kolu stopped. So the next generation, they moved to the towns. There was no employment in the village. So for some times they were selling ball pens, selling matchboxes on the squares of the city where traffic stops. They are selling all such things. They became moving vendors, and after that they are doing some more such jobs. But we have snatched away the whole lifestyle from those people, and we have given a hell of life to them. So the question I just want to raise before this audience, and you will just say that it has nothing to do with the conference, with the theme of the conference. We will be discussing rural development and village planning. But the question remains, and I would request you to consider this question, that the whole lifestyle, the whole living tradition that we have snatched away from the rural folk. So how to restore it back? So if we want to rebuild the village, can we restore back that living experience of the tradition which runs by doing least harm to the environment, and which subsists on local resources. So the village which I remember of 1951, 52, 53, where I have spent some years of my life, so there was no supply from the towns. For purchase of milk, we used to go to the Gwala's house, to the milkman's house. And maybe during summers, the cows would be moved to a nearby locality, which was a kind of farm. So we had to walk some 2-3 kilometers daily to have our milk. In the morning, I and my elder brother, we used to walk some 2 or 3 kilometers to have our daily milk, to visit that farmhouse. Then that was not called farmhouse actually. I have forgotten even the name of the place where the cows were sheltered during summer days. So during cold and rainy season, they were brought back to the houses of the milkmen, to the shepherd, to the cowherd. And then on during rainy season or winter, we could easily purchase, have our milk, daily milk, from the house of the cowherd or shepherd. So that life has also gone. So those persons rearing the cows, they are not there. And all those professions in the village, the profession of the teli, the kumar, and the pinjara, we have taken away that life which depended on these professions from them. So the village which was self-dependent, we need not import anything from the town. We have a julaha, a weaver. We have a barber. Of course, there is no barber shop. There are no saloons. The barber is moving from house to house asking whether you want to have your hair cut. And he is doing so many other jobs. He has the Gatha Gayan. He spins tales. He tells us the old stories, Akhyanas. He has the store of Akhyanas. He is a matchmaker also. He goes from this village to another village in search for matches, for marrying the young people or young growing up girls of the village. So that barber, the village Napit, that Nai, he has also gone away. And the whole culture of the stories, of the lyrics he used to sing, the narratives he used to tell in a lyrical way, that also has gone. So you may try to rediscover the tradition. It is difficult to restore it back. You can't run the vehicle of life in reverse gear always. It is not easy to run the vehicle in reverse gear now. But can we relive the spirit which was behind that lifestyle? The spirit is, you are one with the environment. You are not different from it. You belong to them and they belong to us. The natural phenomena, they are within you and you are within them. That was the lifestyle, and that was the village life. So with these very scattered type of remarks and kind of loose talk, I come to the end of my lecture. Thank you very much, and I hope that the deliberations of this very important conference will go a long way in rejuvenating what has died within us. Thank you very much.